Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 6. This week we are talking about Joseph. This story comes from the book of Genesis and is classified as wisdom literature, a story that tells us about how faith can help us to persevere even when times get difficult. And times for Joseph certainly do get difficult. We see him kind of being a braggart, looking at his brothers and telling them how good he is and that he's had all of these dreams where they're going to be subservient to him. They're going to bow down. And not being humble enough to realize he might want to keep those dreams to himself, he continues to tell his brothers about these dreams. Probably fueled by the fact that Jacob continues to favor Joseph and gives him a many-colored coat, the brothers act on their jealousy. And we'll see how all of these events turn out as we watch and listen to the story of Joseph.
He was killed by a goat, you say? Yeah, Dad, that's what we say. But he was my favorite son. Dad, you know we could hear you. We're in the room. Was my son really killed by a goat? I'd better call the police.
Many stories in the Old Testament are heavy on law. But here in this Old Testament story, we will also investigate the amount of gospel that we can find. This is Law and Gospel, NRSV. Do you boys care to tell us what happened?
Yeah, be specific about anything you can remember about your brother's encounter with a goat. Well, he was standing by the well, and this goat came, and it knocked into him, and he fell down the well. Looks like I can see some blood down here. And there's some claw marks looking like someone's trying to climb out of this well. Oh, wait a minute. There's some words here. It says, I've been sold to Ishmaelites. Better check this out. Could you tell us about any recent purchases you may have made? Possibly from some Ishmaelites? Well, there was this one young slave boy. He was quite handsome and attractive. Oh, and he was very good at doing his job as well. The funny thing, though, was he was some kind of a religious fanatic. He kept talking about how God was always with him and would keep blessing him no matter what. A religious fanatic, huh? Did he proselytize a lot? Well, no, but his beliefs did keep him from trying to misbehave. I wish that my husband could be more like him. Exactly what do you mean? He keeps leaving his underwear on the floor. How many times do I have to tell you, those aren't my underwear?
Not your undergarments, I see.
If you want to know, I had that kid sent to prison for leaving his underwear all over the place.
Especially he kept leaving it in my wife's bedroom.
What can you tell us about that kid that came from Potiphar's place and spent time with you fellas here?
Well, he was kind of this hippy-dippy fella. He was interpreting dreams all the time and stuff.
Yeah, he was really good at it. I had this dream where I had these birds eating bread off the top of my head. He told me that it meant that I was going to be executed.
Baker, please report to the gallows.
I gotta go, boys. I'll talk to you later. Mighty Pharaoh, can you tell us about this young fellow who was a convicted criminal that you have elevated to higher status?
Why, certainly I can tell you about him. He was able to interpret some strange dreams that I had, and so now I've made him second in command of all of Egypt. I'm so excited because he's very good with numbers and with writing as well, too.
Okay, people, we're gonna have to rewrite this. It's not recording what we would like. This says snake and eagle and hawk, and it needs to say duck, duck, goose. I'm gonna have to go get my chisel. I can't rely on anybody else. Excuse me.
Yeah, can we talk to you for a second?
Oh, why, sure.
Is your name Joseph?
Why, yes. Yes, it is. We've been working on a missing persons case, and we understand that you were assaulted and thrown into a well, and we want to know if you'd like to press charges.
Absolutely not. You see, what my brothers intended for evil, God has used for good. I'm going to forgive them, and we can all live together here in Egypt.
That's our story for this week. As you can see, Joseph remains faithful to God, and God remains faithful to Joseph, allowing him to prosper and help his family. Now, this falling into a story that we call wisdom literature, one of the things that isn't addressed are those times when Joseph probably wasn't sure if God really was still there for him. After all, he'd been separated from his family, had been in slavery, had been in prison, and finally he had prospered. Many times in our own lives, we can look back at events that have happened and we can see where God has intervened on our behalf or had us go through a difficult situation in order to learn something about ourselves or learn something about God. One of the questions that I have for you in regards to the story this week is, do you believe that God still speaks to people in dreams? One of the major components of this is Joseph's ability not only to interpret dreams that God gives him, but to use the knowledge that those dreams have to save not only himself, but also lots of people in Egypt and his family. Question number 2. Have there been times in your life when you wondered whether or not God was still with you? What was going on then, and what do you think God was trying to teach you? And finally, the question that I ask every week, what do you think that this story tells us about God and about ourselves? That question is one of the reasons that we study Scripture. We want to be sure that we can see a meaning behind what is going on and a connection for our lives today. That these aren't just old musty stories, but they're stories that mean something to us. All right, have a great week, and I'll talk to you later.
This is Dawn Clinton. She is our communications person here at the church. We love what she does. She gets our bulletins and newsletters and everything ready. And just as Joseph was able to communicate to people about the dreams he was given by God, Dawn helps us to communicate to the world about what Calvary does. So she's going to read Scripture for us this week.
But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Genesis 50, verses 19 and 20.